Hello, wonderful St. Dominic school families. I know you've all been anxiously awaiting our reopening plan, and I appreciate your patience. As soon as the governor released the guidelines last week, our task force met and we were able to finalize some of these plans. There are still more details to be worked out, but I know you all want to get the general sense of what's coming up, which is what I'm going to provide with you today. I really want to thank the task force members who worked with me. Mrs. Slemps, Mrs. Cerisi, and Mrs. Wakanish from the school. And then we had Dr. Maureen Suster, who is a parent and also a physician who provided her medical expertise. And we had Angela Tuggle, who's a social worker who was really helpful with the social and emotional and mental health component of the plan. And will continue to answer questions for me, I'm sure, as time goes on. So just want you to focus on this for a minute. I think it helps center us with what's important here, and keeping in mind that nothing great is ever achieved without much enduring. This wonderful quote from St. Catherine of Siena. And I think that helps us all think about the time that we are living in, and really viewing the challenges of this time as an opportunity. I know that our kids, I've already seen such resilience out of them. They're going to be such an amazing group of adults who are really able to handle change and be flexible and knowledgeable. And so let's try to focus on the positives that will come out of this time together. All right, so some of our guiding principles, just so you know. We relied on the information that came out from the American Academy of Pediatrics that talked about how important in-person schooling is. We relied on the health and safety guidance from Ohio's K through 12 schools that talked about how health and safety is paramount, and that's the thing that you need to most focus on. We also looked at the parent input that you all provided, and you can see here that we have, parents are very concerned, and rightfully so, about their children's potential exposure to COVID. But we can also see that parents were pretty enthusiastic about getting their kids back to in-person schooling. In addition, I sought the input from staff, and you can see where their concerns were about being worried about their health and safety. And you can see some of the concerns that they listed. Number one for sure is their own health and safety, but they also have concerns about how much monitoring they're going to be able to do about things like physical distance from each other, or mask wearing, or teaching online, all of these things that go along. There are a lot of stressors for our teachers as well. Some other things we kept in mind. We have been reading, and again, this is not definitive yet. It's just too early to tell. But so far, the research seems to suggest that children are at a significantly lower risk than adults, that they are less capable of spreading it, even if they get it, and that elementary schools do not appear to be the site of significant spreading events. So keeping that all in mind, at the same time, the important consideration was that we should focus on protecting adults from one another, and that we do know that children can spread it, even with mild cases. So keeping all of that, this is just basically, it's not settled science. More research is needed. And overall, the most important takeaway is, if you are medically vulnerable, if you are at risk, you should not put yourself into a situation that presents a higher risk. And that's what these risk levels from the CDC are so helpful for understanding. The lowest risk scenario for schools would be that students and teachers engage in virtual only. So there's no contact at all outside of your family. More risk, small in-person classes, activities, and events. Groups stay together and have the same teacher throughout the day. The groups don't mix, and they maintain that physical distancing. The highest risk in schools would be full-sized in-person classes, activities, and events. Students are not spaced, and everything is shared, and we're mixing between grade levels. So one of the nice things about St. Dominic School is, because we're small, we're able to use that cohort model where they can stay in their own class all day. So this is our plan. We are going to provide in-person instruction for every family who chooses it. And we can provide comparable, not fully synchronous, we'll give more details about that later, online instruction for families opting out of the in-person instruction. For those who are in the building, we're going to follow all the guidelines from the state about safely reopening, which include symptom assessment, sanitation and hygiene practices, social distancing, and face covering. So I'm going to talk about those really quickly. So as I mentioned, Students will remain in their grade level cohorts at all times. They will have specials. They will have lunch. They will be able to move around the building safely. We have lots of plans in place for that so that they're not stuck in the same classroom each day. And they will have extracurricular activities if they can be done safely. We'll have aftercare, all of those things. But in order to make that happen, we have to follow these rules from the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Department of Health. And this is what they include. First is symptom checking. And this, I just cannot emphasize this enough. If we want our kids in school, we have to make a collective decision that having school open is important to us and is more important to us than sending a sick child to school. We have to all be on the same page. If your child is exhibiting any symptoms of illness, you cannot send them to school. So each day, parents are going to be asked to screen your children, and I will be providing you with a checklist to use for symptoms. In addition to that, our teachers will be temperature checking as students enter their classroom. Students will be masked from arrival at school. They'll have hand sanitizer as they come in, and then they'll go directly to the classroom. Staff will self-check each day. The symptom checking is the first layer of keeping us safe. The second layer is physical distancing. So our teachers have been looking at their classrooms. They've been figuring out things that can be removed, furniture that can be moved around so that they can give. We can't do 6 feet. If we have a full class of 24, there's no way to get 6 feet distance. And we do want as many of you as possible back in school. And the health department did say that is that having kids in school is more important than maintaining 6 feet of distance, but to aim for 3, which is what we're doing. So we are going to be able, in most classrooms, but not all, to give that 3 feet of distance so that students are at their own individual desks. Where we cannot do that, we will use partitions so that the students are not sharing the same air right next to each other. Face coverings. This is just so important. All teachers and staff will be wearing face coverings. They can choose, if a teacher's standing in front of the room, she might wear a shield to do instruction, but working one-on-one with a student will definitely be a mask on the face. Students in grades 3 through 8, the state is saying need to wear masks. And so that is what we're going to do. They can wear either a cloth face mask, they can wear a gaiter, so the ones that go around the neck and they can pull up, or they can wear a face shield if that's what you're more comfortable with as a parent. We're going to let the parents make that decision. We're going to give the kids some autonomy. We also understand that there are some kids who that's because of sensory issues or other things cannot wear that, but we're going to have a physician's note explaining why your child is unable to wear a mask. And then our K through 2 kiddos, this is really challenging. And so that's why the state does not require the kids in K through 2 to wear masks, nor are we able to fully require it. But here's what we're asking. You got to just do it. We've got to send our kids to school in masks or shields or gaiters, whatever's going to keep them comfortable. This is that third super, super important level of risk prevention. If we are doing a good job with symptoms, if we're doing a good job of the distancing, and we're putting the masks, we're going to be able to keep our kids much safer. And then the final component, of course, is the hygiene and cleaning. So kids are going to have built into their schedule time to wash their hands. We've been going through the building and identifying grade-specific bathrooms that will be used, and the teachers will work with each other to come up with times that just that grade will be able to be in there and washing their hands. And we will have hand sanitizer all over the building. It's not as good as hand washing, but it's more than nothing. It's better than nothing. And we will be sanitizing frequently touched surfaces and making sure that the bathrooms are cleaned a couple times a day, because that's a spot where that needs some special attention. So with those pieces in place, we're hoping to be able to mitigate risk as much as possible. And in terms of reporting and symptom checking, this is what we're talking about. And this is, of course, in the hard copy that you have of this. If you have someone in your family who is being tested for COVID, your child should stay home. If your child is presenting any of these symptoms, a new cough, a headache, shortness of breath, unexplained body aches, the loss of taste or smell, they're now saying that might be the number 2 strongest symptom, then and that your child has been in contact with someone with COVID, keep your child home. child has a fever, keep your child home. No child should enter the building unless they have been fever-free without meds for 48 hours. They just can't come back to school. So this is very important. And once they've been fever-free, we still want you to contact your family doctor and make sure that it's safe for your child to return to school, and let us know that. Fever, by the way, means 100.4 degrees or higher. So keeping that in mind. In terms of exposure, it's important to know, I guess I should try to move this. Oh, it doesn't move. That if your child, if you have someone in your family who has a positive COVID test, your child needs to self-quarantine for 14 days. If you're unsure, there was like an exposure to someone who had an exposure, your child can come to school, but you need to be vigilantly monitoring those symptoms, and we need to really remind your child to practice that social distancing. Doctors say, exposure to exposure doesn't equal exposure, but you should always be mindful if you find out that your child was exposed to someone who was exposed to someone. Again, we're just monitoring symptoms and we're being really careful, but the masks, the social distancing at school, the hand washing is just another layer to keep everyone safe. The health department has said that they will be the ones making the calls about positive tests, but we feel like with our small school, we have the ability to let parents know what's going on. So if someone in the building, like a staff member, tests positive, or a classroom teacher, that grade level will be the grade level that the teacher is with is going to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. Or if a student in the class is diagnosed positive with COVID, we're going to self-quarantine that group for 2 weeks, and they'll just shift to distance learning. That's something, but if there's just a mention of an exposure, we would only probably let you know. We probably would not indicate that someone had been exposed to someone, but we would probably let you know if someone's family member, again, obeying all privacy rules, we would not mention anyone by name, but you might get a message from us that a parent of one of your child's classmates has been diagnosed with COVID. And at that point, you can make the decision for your family about whether to send the child back to school, knowing that all these risk mitigation factors, strategies are in place, or whether to stay home and watch for symptoms for 3 to 5 days and just switch to the online learning. There are a lot of hypotheticals with this, so there may be things that we're going to have to work out as the year goes on. But right now, that's what we're going with in terms of our plan for exposure. You'll see in the document definitions for close contact, what isn't close contact, what self-monitoring, self-quarantining, and social distancing mean. And we got this from MIT Medical. So what's the next step? As we get to early August, we will have for you more details about what your child's day is going to look like and what the changes are going to be in terms of like uniform rules and lunches and all of that. We're also going to have some more explanation of what social emotional components will be in place to help your children handle these changes or new experiences for them. We will be offering training options for parents and students in how to be successful with our online learning. You're going to have, we've decided to go with a staggered start, so mark your calendars for this. Half the kids will come on the first day of school, Wednesday, August 26th, and the other half will come on the Thursday. And that way they can work with the teacher in a smaller group to go through the new routines and procedures of the day and to really get the feel for what their full day will look like. And then they'll have their first full class on Friday. You will just also get general back to school announcements with calendar issue school supplies and things like that. So that will all come out in early August as we get closer to school. Please do keep in mind, any of this can change at any moment because this is such an unprecedented time. And so please bear with us if something changes that you're not happy about. I understand there is no plan that's going to make every single person happy. We're doing the best we can. And so the bottom line is that we love your kids and we just really want them to be safe and we want our teachers to be safe. So here's what we're asking you to do. In the email, you saw that there is a survey that will give you an option to choose for the start of the year. Don't think about it all the way through the year. Let's focus on one quarter at a time. Where do you see yourself and your child at the beginning of this school year? We do need to get some numbers on that for planning purposes. I would encourage you to go find a comfortable mask for your child and get more than one and have him or her practice wearing it for long stretches of time. And also really work on that concept of social distancing. Kids don't always get what 3 feet looks like. Please practice that with them, or even 6 feet. If we want them to have fun and safe recess time, that's something they're going to have to know and understand. And then talk to your children, excuse me, about how school will look in August. Let them know what the plan is and use encouraging words. Focus on the positive. We have a great school community at St. Dominic, and we're given this pretty crummy thing to deal with, but I think we're going to handle it really well. And I think the kids will still have joy in their day and time, and they're going to learn and they're going to grow, and we're going to develop our faith and have opportunities to serve others. And it will just, we're going to find the positive in this. So that is what we have for the back to school plan. I hope that you'll attend the Zoom meeting on Monday with any of your questions. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful summer and get some time to relax and enjoy family time. And I just wish you all God's blessings. Thank you so much.